about not-for-profits and how a lot of people have a real misconception about what a not-for-profit is. Not-for-profit does not mean that the entity does not make a profit. Instead, it means that the entity and its profits are not distributed to those people who have an interest in that entity. Notice I'm choosing my words really carefully here, because a not-for-profit can actually be structured as a C Corp or as a LLC. I don't believe in the US it can be structured as an S Corp. But even when it's structured as a C Corp, it doesn't mean that those shareholders get any profit. That's the reason you say not-for-profit. It means that the profits that the business develops are not shared with those owners as such. So we have a not-for-profit, hey Jerry, that is an LLC, which is the Institute of Economics, and there are 7 members of that LLC, and it is a member-governed entity, which means those 7 members make decisions based on an article of incorporation that we have. Some decisions have to be made by consensus, where all 7 members agree. Some decisions are made by a majority, and that's all governed by our articles of incorporation, the bylaws of the entity. But there could be 50 members, but as that entity, the Institute of Economics, makes a profit over some period of time, those profits are not distributed to the members. They cannot be. That would be illegal. Instead, the profits stay in the entity, inside the entity. So they would be used for whatever purposes the board of directors decided. In this case, our board is the same as our members, that those revenues and those profits should be used for, but they cannot be distributed to the members. I'm going to stop there and make sure you guys understand that. If you would throw up some 1s in the question box, if you understand that, if that made sense. Jerry, do you want to maybe articulate it a little bit more in your way also?
Well, not much I can add. I think you were pretty comprehensive. The only thing that I would add, and we talked about this a bit before in talking about a nonprofit, you're absolutely right. A nonprofit doesn't mean that, and that's a big misunderstanding a lot of people make. A nonprofit, they think that they can't make money in a nonprofit. My goodness, that's not true. You can make, you can be performance bonuses. There can be all kinds of things, but the board decides that. The other thing that I think it's important is to understand that the executive director, at least in a nonprofit model, a traditional 501c3 model, the executive director runs the company, but they are not in charge of the company. The organization is controlled by the board of directors, and they replace the director at their pleasure. So if the board of directors doesn't like something that the president does, they can remove him. I know because I've been removed. So that's a consideration when deciding on what kind of business model you want to have.